All right, exercise 6, we're talking about 3D printing, more specifically the 5W1H questions and how they apply to the Sustainable Development Goals. First off, what is 3D printing? 3D printing is a part of a process known as additive manufacturing. This is where you add material layer by layer. The process is less expensive and saves time when making technical machine parts that would, in traditional ways, would have taken longer. 3D printing has taken the world by storm and allowed for new, clean, and time efficient goods from small businesses making jewelry to prosthetic manufacturing in the medical field. So, who's using 3D printing currently? Well, right now, as I mentioned, the medical field is using it to make prosthetics, whether these be large scale or small scale, or implants. The food enthusiasts are starting to print new foods and candies that are in cool designs that we have never seen before. Automotive manufacturers have turned to 3D printing for creating different machine parts in their processes. The architecture industry actually is using 3D printing. They've begun making full houses out of 3D printed material. Um, and I'm sure that we will see new buildings that are bigger and stronger coming out in the near future. Lastly, people are 3D printing artwork, making sculptures, different um, pieces that they enjoy, and seeing what they can do and push the limits of 3D printing. So, why are they using 3D printing? Well, 3D printing is cleaner. Printing 3D uses less energy while creating less waste. This lessens the carbon footprint of the production process, and 3D printing is also less costly, contains less errors, and takes less time to manufacture goods. So there are many positives to 3D printing. So how can we apply 3D printing to meet the Sustainable Development Goals? Well, they can meet various goals. More specifically, I listed a few here. Sustainable Development Goal number 11 is to have sustainable cities and communities. And I believe that 3D printing could be used in the architecture process of these cities and communities because it is a cleaner it is a cleaner production, I should say, and it would meet that goal. So SDG 9 is industry, innovation, and infrastructure. And we could use 3D printing as we already have begun in the industrial processes to make new materials, new parts that we are needed, and to keep up to date with our infrastructure. SDG 3 is good health and well being. And like I said earlier, 3D printing is used in the medical field, and I'm sure that's self explanatory. Lastly, Sustainable Development Goal number 2 is zero hunger. As I mentioned, people have begun 3D printing food, which you never would have thought um, would be happening, but they are. So we could use 3D printing to find ways to produce food, produce more food, and to share that food with those in need. Lastly, my two truths and a lie. First, the largest thing ever 3D printed was an airplane trim tool for Boeing. Second, 3D printers are relatively accessible, with the lower end starting at $100 and going all the way up to tens of thousands. And lastly, 3D printing is healthy and safe, and there's no risk to the health of those who are in close proximity to the printing process.